If you're not in your workplace pension already, join it, right? Because it's free money. You put in 4% of your pay as a minimum. Your employer will put in 3% for you. The government will top that up with at least 1%. So you've doubled your money. You've put in 4%. Other people have put in 4%. There is no other investment you can get that doubles your money on day one. And yes, I know you're not going to get it back for decades, but
you will get old.
You will get old. Yeah. Most of us will, hopefully.
Yeah. So the chances are pretty high that high that you get old than the die.
Exactly.
Young.
So you're going to need that money one day. So join your workplace pension, but also look at the terms of the workplace pension. And we'll come back to the self-employed again in a minute, right? But within the terms of the workplace pension, quite often employers, particularly larger employers, will say, look, I tell you what, if you put in, so the minimum is 4 and 4 effectively, or 4% and 3%. But I'll tell you what, if you put your contribution up to 5% or 6%, we'll put an extra 2 or 4% in. So they'll match or double match what you put in on top of the minimum. So take a look at that, because it may be that if you put in 5%, you'll get 6% from your employer.
You're right near the 15 then.
Right. All of a sudden things are looking good. If you put in 8% and your employer puts in 8% as well, boom, okay, now we're doing enough. So look at the terms your employer will offer you. Some of them will do a thing called salary sacrifice, where instead of paying you the money and then you put the money in, they pay it in and avoid national insurance costs on. So it becomes 100% employer contribution. That saves you national insurance. So there's some dodges there. For the self-employed, it's not as simple because there is no employer. But I would come back to that. Make a plan. I'm not prescriptive whether it's a pension or a lifetime ISA if you're under the age of 40, or a conventional ISA, or investing in property. Just do something, right? And as a rule of thumb, if cumulatively you're not putting aside for the long term at least 10% of your income every month, you're probably not saving enough. But another thing that everybody can do is go online. There's lots of useful calculators online. The Money and Pension Service have one, but there's lots of commercial calculators available as well. And in 5 minutes less, you can plug in your age, when you're hoping to retire, how much you're earning, how much you're saving already, and it will spit out some numbers and say, right, this is what your future looks like. Another thing you can do is look at the Pensions and Lifetime Savings Association's retirement living standards. So there's a website, PLSA, search for that, you'll find it, where they put in, this is what a minimum retirement looks like, this is what a moderate retirement looks like, and what a comfortable retirement looks like.
It's like 2-week holiday in Europe.
Exactly. So they've worked out roughly how much you need to live on in today's money. So if you've done the calculator, and then you look at the PLSA numbers, then you can start to build a picture of what your long-term future looks like. And then you can start to build a plan. And the good news is none of this is actually that painful. If you sit down on a wet afternoon with an hour in front of a computer, in an hour's time, you will have at least got something that looks like a plan for what your retirement savings look like. And I know a lot of people put it off because it looks scary and complicated and boring, and there's always something better to do, go and do some weeding, whatever. But actually, quite quickly...
some weeding.
Quite quickly, so I'm from the country. So quite quickly, you can actually get on top of it. And I can speak from personal experience, the simple act of getting to that point, of understanding, framing the equation and understanding what the parameters of the equation are, just feels a whole lot better than not knowing. So you quite quickly you can get on control of it.
The PSLA, the guidelines that you say, they're obviously in today's money, and someone like me and T are, maybe even yourself, I don't know how old you are, sorry.
I'm guessing a bit older than you guys.
I don't know, you never know.
Black don't crack.
Black don't crack.
I don't know about this guy, but yeah.
White looks shite. Yeah, so 20, 30 years out, inflation becomes a big consideration. Yeah. How would you advise someone to take a figure today and to extrapolate that out to, say, 30 years' time?
The easiest thing is to use the calculators, because they can do
the inflation calculators.
Yeah, so some of the pension projection calculators will factor in inflation for you, so they can give you results back in today's money. You can use an inflation calculator. Again, Google it, you'll find one. It's pretty simple. So it's not hard to get answers to that. So you can sit down with a piece of paper and try and do it manually if you want. But the numbers
are scary, though.
Yes, they are.
So today, 30k, say, would be about 70 by the time I retire at a 2 to 3% inflation. So 70 times by 25, 3.5 million or something like this. Then retirement savings. I always sit here all the time going, you're going to need millions in retirement if you're my age to have a good standard of living. And people always go, oh, no way.
But then the investment growth should offset the effect of that. I mean,
and wage growth, hopefully.
Typically, wage and investment growth growth runs slightly ahead of inflation. So that brings it all back down into to manageable numbers again. So yes, in nominal terms, that pot of money suddenly looks huge, but actually when you get there, it won't look quite so big. I mean, I remember, I'm old enough to remember when £1 million was actually a lot of money. You know? Things can snap back, and it's about the investment growth and the wage growth that will offset the inflation.
So I just wanted to set that up so that when people sit down in their 20s and look and they realise they need 50 million quid, they're going to be like, oh my God.
It's okay, you can get there, right? because
you'll only buy a Mars bar with that age, so don't worry about it.
No, the pension calculator will roll up your wage growth and your investment returns, and that will bring it all back into perspective for you.
If you're curious about what else Tom has to say about pensions, you really should be. Click here to watch the whole interview.